We talk a lot about strength, discipline, and mindset, but rarely do we ask this question: what if the way we define strength is actually what is exhausting us? Welcome to Mind Over Masculinity. I am Yusuf, and this is a space where we question outdated definitions of strength and explore healthier, more grounded ways of leading and living. Our guest today is Dr. Cynthia Coy, founder and CEO of Uncase Solutions, a retired Air Force officer, executive coach, and leadership strategist. She works closely with high achieving leaders around mindset, communication, and sustainable leadership. In this episode, we are exploring mindset through the lens of pressure, performance, and identity, and how men can rethink strength without losing their edge. With that, I welcome Dr. Cynthia Coy to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Perfect. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
In many masculine environments,
Mhm.
mindset gets framed as pushing harder or staying tough. I'm curious, how does that belief actually limit leaders over time?
That's a great question. Yeah, so mindset isn't about pushing hard. I think a lot of times when we think about, especially at the beginning of the year, we're doing these resolutions, and the mindset is I'm gonna, go to the gym. I'm gonna be disciplined. I'm gonna, um, you know, build my business more, whatever it is. And the key is not necessarily pushing harder. That's not what mindset is about. It's actually, um, mindset requires a lot of um, time to sit back and reflect and to really decide and define what it is, um, not only that you want to do, but also addressing the obstacles in your mind that could be hindering you from accomplishing what you want. So mindset is it's a state, right? Um, and mindset is something that we have to work on every single day, not just, you know, it's not like a set it and forget it, don't have to do it anymore. Every day you have to be very intentional in what your mindset is. A lot of times, our thoughts, and I have a poster over my desk that I look at every day. It talks about how you watch your thoughts because they become words. Watch your words because they become actions. You watch your actions because they become habits. Watch your habits. They become character, and you watch your character because it becomes your destiny. And so every day, every moment, you are watching, you know, having to sift through the thoughts in your mind. Um, because our mindset is very key to how we actually um, live out our lives, and the actions that we take. So it's not a push hard grind, because that's why people can't sustain that a long time. Mindset is also some of the practices, right, that you're doing. It's tied to the things that are going to serve you well in what you're trying to accomplish. So whether that means before you go into a meeting, you're taking some time for meditation. Um, it's like getting in the right frame of mind for whatever it is that you're about to tackle.
Where do these mindset patterns form, especially for men in leadership or responsibility heavy roles?
Yeah. From the time you're born, right? All the experiences that you have. Mindset, think about your brain and all of the different experiences that are locked in your brain from the time you're a little baby, from the time you can remember what people tell you about you, right?
Mm.
Um, and the mindset. just we talked about like scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, right? When you have somebody who tells you all the time, well, we don't have a lot, you need to do, don't dream big and, just stick with what, is safe. That comes from your childhood. And even as you grow into an adult, if you don't change your mindset, it comes from, yeah, our experiences. And so you have to unlearn. You have to unlearn what you were told. If you think about it, it's almost like brainwashing, right? In a sense that somebody tells you something over and over, that you're never going to be successful or you're never going to, fill in the blank, you start to believe that because you've been told that. And you have to basically reframe. You have to almost just say, stop, rewind, throw that thought out of your mind and have to replace it with a new one. And that is easier said than done. It's not the easiest thing to do because even when we're like, okay, I'm going to think positive and I'm going to, focus on, doing this one thing better. When things start to get hard and things start to get challenging, guess what starts to creep back up in your mind? Well, maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you're not smart enough. You're not intelligent enough to do this. Um,
Yeah.
and that is where you have to say, that's a lie, right? You have to just say, I just, I'm learning how to do this. So the words, the language you speak has a lot to do with um, our mindset too. So yeah, it's really something that you just have to like really look back. That's why the reflection is so important. Because when you really think about where did I learn that? Where did that come from? I guarantee most times it's going to come from something your parents, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, somebody told you and you started to believe it. Because that's the truth, right? Somebody tells you something enough times, you start to believe it.
Mm. So much of this is learned in our early stages of life,
Mhm.
not necessarily through words, but through what was rewarded, ignored, or discouraged, encouraged, some all those things.
Yeah. It's like the unspoken.
Yeah.
And our behavior, I think too, when you have people who model things, like people who model dreaming big, um, sometimes we look at people and we're like, how did they get that? Or how did they achieve that? Um, if you watch them enough, you're like, well, it has to be possible because they did it. But if you're around people, and that's why I like surrounding yourself with the right people who are going to help you um, go where you want to go, positive people, not dream killers. You want dream cheerleaders, right? So you want people who are going to say you can do this, and not just say yay, 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 but also people who can help guide you, give you some resources, connect you with certain people. Um, you need basically a community, right? That is going to help you move forward and not necessarily because I think our family, um, we love them and they always want what they think is best for us, but it's almost like that mother, that father who um, they're afraid of their little kid falling down and getting scraped because they want to prevent it, but at the same time, it's like if they don't fall down and get scraped up, they're never gonna like get back up and figure out I can do this again. That's how we learn through our failures in life, right? It's all about experimenting with things and trying new things. And the lesson that you should always ask yourself when you go through a situation, whether good or bad, is what am I learning from this? You know, I say that for myself. It's like, what are you trying to teach me? For my faith, right? It's like, God, what are you trying to teach me in this situation, in this journey? Um, and then take that lesson that you're learning, learn from it, and grow and do better. When you apply it to something else. So,
For someone listening who feels constantly on, what is one mindset shift that creates immediate breathing room without sacrificing their performance?
I was a person who was always on. So I totally get it. Um, One thought that comes to mind that you should think about is what would it be like to not be on? You think about like a peaceful place, and this is where breath work is very powerful. If you just sometimes just, even if you're at work and you're sitting in your chair, just take a minute to just close your eyes, get still, and breathe. And when you're breathing, take notice of everything that's happening to you. Take notice of where that breath is going, um, and be in a state of gratitude about it too. When you think about it, I mean, the body is an amazing creation, right? And it's like when you think about how the breath flows, how the blood flows, everything, it's like it just kind of helps you reframe and slow down. That's the biggest thing. You want to pause. Um, to be on, we're not robots, we're not machines, right? So, everything needs rest. And that's why like getting sleep is so important. If you are a person who is constantly on, your body will not sustain that. Your mind can't sustain that long.
Hmm. You know, that move from reaction to intention can
Mhm.
completely change how leadership feels internally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Intentionality is something I learned from my mentor, John C. Maxwell. He has a book called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. Very first law is the law of intentionality. And that should drive how you live your life, actually, how you make decisions about your life. Um, you have to think it through, don't be impulsive, right? I know sometimes you you can, people who go on shopping sprees, it's like, do you really need to buy what you're buying? Or is it like, it just looked good at the moment? And you're like, I like that. I want that. But when you look at the long term, what are you going to use it for? Like, what's the function? What's the purpose? If you apply that to your life, the things that you're investing your time in, the things that you're investing your money in, your talent in, what is the point? What am I getting out of that? And not necessarily what am I just getting out of it, but how is that serving me? How is it serving the other people around me? Um, so you have to again pause, reflect, think about everything before, I don't know about you, Giuseppe. I mean, like, even if you have like $1 million, I don't think you just drop it just to say, oh, I think I want to buy whatever it is, a purse or whatever for crazy amount of money just because you have the money if you're never going to use the purse, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is that you're looking at. You have to be intentional because there's always a return. Whether it's intangible or tangible, there is always a return on every investment that you make. And so you want to make sure that you are investing well.
That's, yeah. So, when old habits return, especially under stress, how can men and not only men, but everyone listening, stay committed to a healthier mindset without slipping into self criticism, self judgment spiral?
Mm. Like you said, that is not something just for men, it's something for everybody, right? When we start to recognize that that is something that's old,
Mhm.
pause again. Power of the pause is amazing. But you pause and you recognize one, that old thought is coming in. Um, could be a matter of not being able to regulate your emotions. Um, right? Like we go through stressful situations and it's very much dependent on how we respond to those situations. And so when you're dealing with somebody, let's say, and they rub you the wrong way, they say something that, kind of gets under your skin, and you start having thoughts about, you know, uh, not happy thoughts about the person or happy thoughts about what they're doing, um, then you have to figure out, you can choose, you make a choice, you make a decision. Decisions are about choices. How are you going to respond? So when the thought comes in the head, it's like, okay, before you open your mouth, before you say anything, again, we pause. Power of the pause. 7 seconds. I know that seems like a long time, but if you try it, just be quiet for 7 seconds, and let that thought go one end to the other end of your head, right? One end and out the other. Um, again, it's like sifting. It's like sifting. You know, I think about gardens, and I was never good with, you know, gardens. My sisters are, you know, she's very good at gardening, and but one thing I do know is when I attempted to do gardening, there's all the weeds that grow up, right? And if you're not careful, if you let the weeds stay too long in the bed, your garden bed, it starts to choke the good, the beautiful flowers, right? Same thing if you let those negative thoughts stay or to choke your habits and your beliefs, and even start to affect your character. So when they come in, number one, recognize this is what's happening, and then determine your response. You already know what serves you well and what doesn't serve you well. And so whatever you got to do, and trust me, I've heard some people, they make gestures, they shake their head, they um say like stop or whatever, whatever you got to do, just to acknowledge, recognize, and basically refresh your mind on what's happening. So it's a very, again, intentional exercise, but it's one thing that takes time. And I think, you know, back to what you were saying earlier about people being on all the time, that's the thing. You can't be on all the time. You got to be aware all the time, but you can't be on all the time.
Cynthia, for listeners who want to explore your work or learn more about your leadership approach, where can they find you?
You can definitely find me online, www.uncasesolutions.com. We offer coaching and training for clients. You can also find me on LinkedIn and all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook. Um, yeah, that's where you can find me.
And to all our listeners, all these links are in the show notes, so just go and check those out. Cynthia, is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
I would just say the last thing I like to say is mindset is everything. Everything is interconnected, and um, it's important to remember that. So every time you do something or say something or experience something, you know, it all goes back to mindset. And you have to just take the time to sit with yourself and figure out where your mindset is and where you want it to be. And, you know, hire somebody like me to help you get there.
Perfect. And thank you so much for tuning into Mind Over Masculinity.
Thank you.
And to all our listeners, if today's conversation resonated, sit with it. Strength does not appear when we redefine it. Often, it finally becomes sustainable. A strong mindset isn't about enduring more pressure, it's about choosing clarity, self awareness, and alignment under pressure. And I'll see you next time.